The practice of healing in the Philippines can be traced back to pre-Hispanic Philippines. There are basically three types of traditional healers: the albulario, herb doctors, the babaylan, mediums, and the espiritista, spiritualists. A herb doctor lives in a village and may be a farmer or a carpenter. He will treat patients using herbs and oraciones, but he will not perform surgery. If the herb doctor attributes a relatively mild case of fever in a child to the spirits, he may try to drive them away through the offering of prayers and food. There are cases in which one may be afflicted with illnesses of the spirit and those that are unseen, such as sickness of the soil. The sickness of the soil refers to being struck down with illness brought on by spirits living in the ground. The disease may take various forms, and the herb doctor would usually choose from 5 methods in order to treat these illness. The methods are prayers, spitting, rubbing, plastering, and murmuring. The use of prayer is nothing more than the use of prayers to invoke some saint or god. Spitting is associated with chewing and spitting on the object for a cure. For example, in circumcision, tobacco mixed with guava leaves is chewed. Then the mixture is spat on the newly cut foreskin. Rubbing may include gentle massage with the use of ointment or liniment. Kerosene is used to rub on the joints that are painful or achy. Plastering means that the herbs are pounded in the mortar and applied with a piece of cloth. Murmuring means a special secret phrase with special wonders on certain ailments. This is not directed to God or a saint. The words themselves are responsible for the results. They can be used to ward off evil. Within the village, communities, faith healers, known as babaylans in Visayas and Catalogans in Tagalog, may be found. Babaylans were predominantly women. Men who were babaylans were usually considered to have feminine traits. A babaylan was considered a specialist in the fields of culture, religion, medicine, and all kinds of theoretical knowledge about the phenomenon of nature. They were mystical women who would wield social and spiritual power in pre-colonial Philippine society. Each babaylan performed 4 main power roles: a leader, a counselor, a healer, and a sage. The traditional path in babaylan formation was to be called brujo, the supernatural being, or to inherit the role from an elder babaylan. The sacred call would come in a dream, or one might go through a trance-like state called sinasapian, or spiritual possession, assisted by a suro, a spiritual guide. She would be submitted to a spiritual journey, an intense religious encounter through which a successful navigation is pivotal to her physical and mental aptitude. According to the Lumad communities in Mindanao, especially in Namatigsalo, any woman or man who would identify and solve the problems of the community, demonstrate leadership in solving problems as they arise, and mature, can be chosen as babaylan, while in other Lumad communities, a woman or a man must be able to wield a sword or a weapon in defense of the community. The education of babaylan is a lifelong process, and she becomes full-fledged when she understands and embodies the multiple factors of priestess, healers, sage, and seer. That is why babaylans are already in their maturing years when they assume the mantle of babaylanism. When the Spaniards came to the Philippines in the year 1521, they implemented the Christian concept of charity and care for the sick, shared by the church and the state. The state was responsible for the construction of hospitals, which must be present in all towns to accommodate the number of people. The role of the church was in taking care of the sick and for curing the diseases of locals. Hospitals were strategically placed near the churches, since it is usually the center of the community. This is to ensure that the religious are always available for the sick, and that the sick are assured to be taken care of in conformity to the ideals of Christianity. In the year 1577, hospitals then developed. During the Spanish colonization, the first hospital was developed, Hospital de Santa Ana de Naturales, which was built through the efforts of Father Juan Clemente, a Franciscan priest. The first hospital, which has two large rooms, is made up of nipa and cane. It was then followed by a hospital, which is made to serve mainly natives. It was founded by the Franciscans in the village of Dilao, which is now known as Bajo, Manila, in the year 1603. As natural calamities occurred, such as fire and earthquake, as well as the dangers in the defense of the city, the hospitals were destroyed. With these situations, the hospitals were rebuilt through the labor of the Spaniards, giving rise to new hospitals: Hospital de Santa Ana Misericordia, Hospital de San Juan de Dios, Hospital de San Lazaro, which was then a hospital for lepers. The Spaniards employed treatment that was already used in Europe. This includes suppositories, poultices, plasters, masticatories, ointments, oils, eye drops, powders, distilled water, decoctions, cough mixtures, juleps, lemonades, liquors, narcotics, and pills. There were Spaniards who studied the healing properties and medicinal benefits of medicinal plants. Most of these Spaniards were priests. They studied the fertility and characteristics of the Visayan island, described in great detail the medicinal qualities of various roots and herbs in the Philippines, and found remedies for different illnesses. Some of them also made a manual and guidelines on household remedies to be used by the natives in the country. The government, during the Spanish era, established different offices to govern the public health and to attend the medical needs of the colonies. These are the Superior Council of Health Inspection, General Inspection for Welfare and Sanitation, Institute of Vaccination, Corps of Vaccinators, and Direction of Maritime Sanitation for the Port of Manila. One of the great epidemics that struck the Philippines during the Hispanic era was smallpox. After Edward Jenner discovered an empirical approach to smallpox vaccination in 1798, King Charles IV of Spain ordered an expedition to spread the knowledge of vaccine in his colonies. The expedition occurred on Maria Pita ship, led by Francisco de Balmes at around 1803. After the expedition traveled to the countries in South America, it reached the Philippines in 1805. Balmes guided the Spanish authorities in Manila on how to perpetuate the vaccine to the Institute of Vaccination and Corps of Vaccinators. Health education was introduced to the Philippines in the late 1800s. In 1871, the Spanish government granted the petition of the UST to establish a College of Medicine and Pharmacy. The government ordered the establishment of the medical school during the term of Rector Magnificus Domingo Tercera and Dr. Rafael Gil in 1902. The first 5 courses offered were Doctor of Medicine, Pharmacy, Licensure in Medicine, Pharmacy, and Midwifery. Since the colonization of Spain in the 16th century, the progress of healthcare in the country had been slow and deteriorating. Advances in most of the European countries would gradually filter into the archipelago. People gathered around to get treatment from popular indigenous medicines available from the herbularios, Anito worshippers, and other native healers.
Before the 20th century, on September 29, 1898, the Americans established a military board of health with Dr. Frank S. Burns as president. The purpose of this board of health was to care for injured American troops, but as the hostilities between Filipinos and Americans waned in 1901, a civilian board of health was now deemed appropriate with Dr. Louis Mervyn Mouse as the first health commissioner. The cholera epidemic started on the 20th day of March, year 1902, which lasted until 1905. 2 cases were reported from San Juan de Dios Hospital, and in just 10 days, the cases rose to 102 with a casualty of 90%. The Board of Health carried out Government Order 66, which led to the burning of infected nipa huts. For instance, in March 27, 1902, the entire Parola district in Tondo was burned down, leaving its residents homeless and confused. Other factors that led to the rapid spread of the disease were contaminated water supply, rampant defecation in the rivers, and lack of health care facilities and services. This was reported as the worst epidemic in the Philippine history, wherein 3% of the total population was affected. All in all, 222,000 lives, including 66,000 children, were lost. In 1902 to 1905, the Americans advocated cremation of bodies, outlawing of funerals, and land quarantine. All these foreign actions conflicted with Filipino customs of funeral visits and visiting of the sick. By the 1930s, deaths caused by cholera had waned. On June 18, 1908, the Philippine legislature approved Act No. 1870 under the authority of the United States. This act, also known as the University Act, provided for the founding and organization of the University of the Philippines. It specified the function of the university, which is to provide advanced instruction in literature, philosophy, the sciences, and arts, and to give professional and technical training. It began with the establishment of the Philippine Medical School in 1905, later incorporated into the university as the College of Medicine and Surgery, and started operating in 1907. A year ahead of the rest of the UP system. Together with the College of Fine Arts and the College of Liberal Arts, the College of Medicine occupied buildings distributed along the Ermita District and the Quiapo District in Manila. Hospitals that were established during the American regime were St. Paul's Hospital, Mary Johnston's Hospital, and Philippine General Hospital. In September 10, 1910, PGH first opened its doors to the public with a capacity of 330 beds under the directorship of Dr. Victor Heiser.
Invading Japanese troops entered Manila unopposed. After General MacArthur and his fleets withdrew to Bataan, leaving Manila an open city. September 30, 1943, a provisional government was formed by the Japanese Occupation Army with Jose P. Laurel as the chief officer. The provisional government formed the Commission on Education, Health, and Public Welfare, commissioned by Clara M. Recto. Activities of the said commission directed towards handling emergencies and prevention of epidemics during the war, mainly to help inflicted soldiers in the war zone. In the same year, the Board of Nutritional Research and the Medicinal Plant Committee were also created. The Japanese Army took over San Juan de Dios Hospital in Intramuros and Quezon Institute for their personal use. UP College of Medicine and PGH continued, but the rest were closed and taken over by the Japanese. As the war continued, the Philippine General Hospital became filled with patients stricken with malaria, bacillary dysentery, and amoebic dysentery. Gas gangrenes and tetanus, were common among casualties. American groups came back to the Philippines in 1945, and different Philippine civil affairs units were established. They brought 4 novel drugs. Atabrine was used for malaria, penicillin to cure wounds and pneumonia, pentothal as an anesthetic, and lyophilized blood plasma for tetanus. After the Japanese occupation, PC-81 was renamed to the Philippine Orthopedic Hospital, and PC-AU-5 was renamed to the North General Hospital, eventually to Dr. Jose Reyes Memorial Hospital. The evolution of Philippine medicine has been great indeed. With the entrance of contemporary era, medicine in the country was revolutionized. Spanning the time after the Japanese occupation up to the present, great innovations are still being developed and discovered. Fe del Mundo, the first Asian to have entered Harvard University School of Medicine, is credited for the invention of the incubator. She has contributed to over 100 articles in medical journals and is an International Pediatric Associate Awardee. Dr. Francisco Santos studied about the nutritional values and chemical composition of local food in the Philippines. His findings were used to help solve problems with the Filipino diet and helped improve the diet of those locals living in impoverished areas. This is reflected in the practice of food fortification in the country. Baldomero Oliveira had amazing discoveries in neuropharmacology of various peptides isolated from the venom of cone snails. Some peptides are now being developed as drugs for treatment of pain, epilepsy, and other disorders of the nervous system. In the year 2000, Rolando de la Cruz developed an ingenious formulation that could easily remove deeply grown moles and warts. The concoction used was extracted from cashew nut. This formula won De La Cruz a gold medal in an exhibition in Kuala Lumpur. This also gave rise to the establishment of RCC Amazing Touch International Incorporated, which runs clinics engaged in the non-surgical removal of warts, moles, and other skin growths. In August 4, 1988, the first liver transplant in the country was successfully accomplished. It reflected the proficiency of Filipino doctors to go along with Western medicine, especially in the field of organ transplant. This success paved the way for the attempt at competing at a global level on the transplantation of organs such as heart, kidneys, and pediatric organs. Numerous hospitals were founded during the contemporary era. The National Kidney Transplant Institute, formerly known as the National Kidney Foundation of the Philippines, has been in existence since 1991. The Philippine Heart Center, established through BD 673 of Ferdinand Marcos, was inaugurated on February 14, 1975. The Lung Center of the Philippines was established through BD 1823 on January 16, 1981 and inaugurated on January 3 of the same year. The Veterans Memorial Medical Center was established in 1955 primarily for the hospitalization of World War II veterans. The De La Salle University Medical Center is renowned as the first ISO 9001 certified hospital in the Philippines and is locally regarded as a center of excellence by the PhilHealth.
Lights will guide